By 1994, Pearl Jam was a band on the verge of imploding. The massive success of their debut album 10 shot the band to superstardom overnight. But the band members struggled with their newfound fame, and despite their efforts to rein things in, including not filming any music videos for their second album, Versus, their sophomore album set a first-week sales record, moving nearly 900,000 copies in its first week. It was the same year the band launched a multi-year crusade against corporate giant Ticketmaster over their service charges on the band's concert tickets. I've done a very detailed look at Pearl Jam's feud with Ticketmaster, the link is down below. Added into the mix was substance abuse, shifting creative dynamics, and by the end of recording their third album, Vitalogy, Pearl Jam would lose a much beloved member. Today, let's talk about the group's third record. Brendan O'Brien, who produced Pearl Jam's second and third records, would tell Spin magazine, "Vitalogy was a little strained. I'm being polite. There was some imploding going on." By the time Pearl Jam released Vitalogy in late 1994, the previous year's effort Versus had already sold 5 million copies. According to Spin, industry insiders would claim that the album would have sold nearly 10 million copies had the band opted to make videos for the record's singles. The recording of Vitalogy saw a change up in the dynamics of how writing and decision-making was being done in the band. Up until this point, guitarist Stone Gossard and bassist Jeff Ament were the primary decision makers and brought a lot of song ideas to the group. That seemed to shift on Vitalogy, with Ament revealing in the book Grunge is Dead, "If there was a logical point for us to break up, that was probably it. There was a lot of weird power struggles going on in the band, nobody was communicating. I was ready to just build a cabin in the hills and call it a day." Ament would point the finger at Vedder, adding, "I think a lot of it was Ed taking up the reins. Up until that point, in a lot of regards, Stone and I made a lot of the decisions. I always responded like I've always had, just put my head down and played," with Stone Gossard adding in the same book, "It was a real difficult album for me to make because I was having to give up a lot of control." The recording of Vitalogy would see the band use studios in Seattle, New Orleans, and Atlanta. And by Vedder's own admission, he actually enjoyed the creative process of the third record more than Versus, as he brought in more song ideas, played guitar on some of the tracks, with him even bringing in complete songs. With Vedder taking more control over the group, he also soon started butting heads with drummer Dave Abruzzese. Vedder not only took issue with the drummer's playing style, which he believed was too busy, but his personality as well. According to producer and engineer Adam Casper, the band recorded several songs using a drum machine, which was a slap in the face to Dave. Abruzzese also disagreed with some of the band's decisions, including taking on Ticketmaster, thinking the band should have been more focused on playing music. Then there was one incident during the recording of Vitalogy that was set to be the final straw. Casper would claim in the book Grunge is Dead, and I quote, "The classic story is when Dave knocked over Eddie's guitar, which was from Pete Townsend or something. He breaks it and just leaves a little picture of a boo-boo face on it like, 'I'm sorry and F it, let's do a drum clinic,' or some self-promoting BS like that. He had a bit of a rock star attitude, and that didn't go well with Eddie." Abruzzese, however, in the same book, contended that that story never happened of him breaking one of Eddie's guitars. He would be fired from the band by the summer of 1994, just as recording was wrapping up on the album, and here's an MTV News report on it.
In music news this week, Pearl Jam management confirmed a rumor it had denied when we called a month ago. Drummer Dave Abruzzese has left the band, effective late last week, in what was called a mutual and amicable parting. Abruzzese did play on all tracks on the new Pearl Jam album due this fall, tentatively titled Vitalogy. We have not yet been able to reach Abruzzese to get his side of this and find out his plans for the future. Pearl Jam's next scheduled performance is October 1st at Neil Young's Bridge School Benefit in San Francisco, normally an acoustic show. The band says it's not in any hurry to start auditioning for a new drummer.
Last week, Pearl Jam issued a statement saying drummer Dave Abruzzese had left the band by mutual agreement. This week, Abruzzese told us that he was in fact fired and didn't know why. Pearl Jam's management, which says the ex-drummer had agreed to its original statement, adds that the band is not looking to audition new drummers.
The band would reach out to former Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Jack Irons, who the members had long wanted to join the group, but the incessant touring and being a new father resulted in Irons turning down the gig several times before. This time would be different, and he would be brought in to finish recording the album and tour with the group. It was during the making of the album guitarist Mike McCready was dealing with substance abuse issues, with Stone Gossard revealing, "Mike's a pretty awful drunk. Not that he got malicious or mean openly to people, but he would get out of control consistently." It was a difficult situation where you could find yourself blaming Mike for a lot of your own frustrations with the band when he was effed up or couldn't come to practice. And we're used to loving Mike and knowing how much fun and how talented he is. I got upset that he might throw away a great opportunity to be in a cool band and work it out. He decided to go into treatment and everyone was thrilled. How could you not be? Here was Mike taking responsibility for himself and his own happiness, going to a new level. Released on December 6, 1994, Vitalogy would move an astounding 877,000 copies in its first week, making it the second biggest debut in music history, with the band's previous year's effort Versus having sold slightly more. Released as the first single from the record, the frantic song Spin the Black Circle was the product of Vedder wanting everything to be faster, as he told Rolling Stone, recalling, "Stone gave me this riff. I had a speed control machine. I speeded it up, came back and said, can we do it this way?" It would be the only single to appear on the Billboard Top 40 charts, peaking at number 18. The band would release several more singles, but the song Better Man, which was a holdover from the Versus sessions, and would never see official commercial release, would spend 8 weeks at the number 1 spot on the Billboard Mainstream Rock Tracks chart. Also found on the record would be fan favorite Corduroy, which dealt with what Vedder thought was the commercialization of grunge. You guys remember the Marc Jacobs grunge collection from the 90s? Vedder would look back telling AV Club, "That song was based on a remake of a brown corduroy jacket that I wore. I think I got mine for $12. It was being sold for like $650. The ultimate one as far as being co-opted was that there was this guy on TV, predictably patterned, I guess after the way I was looking those days, with long hair and an army t-shirt. They put this new character on a soap opera, so there was this guy, more handsome than I, parading around a General Hospital. And the funny thing is, that guy was Ricky Martin." The song Immortality and even passages in the booklet the band released with the album, called The Book of Vitalogy, had some in the press, according to the LA Times, asking whether any of the material on the record was about Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain, who had passed away 9 months prior. Manager Kelly Curtis would tell the Times that none of the songs referenced or used on the album had Cobain in mind. 2 months before the record came out, the LA Times would report that the inspiration for the band's album cover would come from a book on philosophy and health that Vedder bought from a garage sale. The book cost Vedder about $2, but the cost of designing the album package to look like a turn-of-the-century book ended up costing the band $2 million. It was a cost that Pearl Jam shared between themselves and their label, so the additional 50 cents wouldn't be passed on to consumers. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll Your Stories. Take care.